to filter through this land of ours and fill a sportsman's dreams. Enjoy what nature holds for us, her bounty never ends. Getting back to basics with the practical sportsman. It's always an adventure, no matter where we go. From a favorite hunting spot to the hottest fishing pole. Outdoor life we all can share with family and friends. We'll do it all together with a practical sportsman. We'll do it all together with a practical sportsman.
Hi there, come on in. It is Thursday night, May 11th, the year 2000. We have coming up something that, it doesn't really rival a trout opener or anything like that, but there is a meeting the day after the UP Walleye opener that's on cormorants. Cormorants! A strange looking bird that has invaded the Great Lakes is really causing havoc around the country, and that's one thing we're going to talk about. So please, stay tuned. The trout that we have in Michigan, in the streams, the stream trout, brooks, browns, rainbows, there's natural reproduction where they spawn in the gravel, and then we have a large hatchery system here that the DNR raises trout and then plants them in the streams, gives them a little head start. Now, the problem in planting trout has always been, from a biologist's point of view, if they put the trout out there during the day, that's when seagulls and all sorts of predators are feeding and can see them and can scarf them up when they're near the surface. If they plant the trout at night, then they're more protected from the predators and have a better chance. Well, rumor has been going around that the DNR has been planting trout during the day. I first heard this from Bill Acker up at Just Fishin' in Ludington area, and he said these 6 and 7 and 8 inchers were not meeting a good fate recently.
6 to 8 inches, 7 inch browns down here, so they didn't want to pay anybody overtime to do it at night, so they dumped them in the broad daylight. So of course for the next 2-3 days the seagulls just tore them apart, and they're dredging down here right now, so there's piles of dead browns laying around. That's our dollars. So I'm gonna do a letter to the editor, make some more enemies.
Yeah, well, make sure you send a copy to me there.
I will, thank you. I got to get some facts I want.
Yes, Bill, thank you for getting the facts, and he will get the facts, the documentation as to whether there was the problem that he perceived or what the situation is, but I will report that on this show. Now, you can discount something like that, a story like that, as maybe being a rumor if you just hear it once. Well, I got a call the same day that I talked to Bill from a guy named Rob Berger. He lives up in Hessel. Now, Hessel is an area that has a lot of perch up there, and people have said the cormorants that have moved in are just knocking and decimating the perch population. Well, not only that, but Rob Berger said that the DNR was planting splake recently, planting them during the day. And Rob, what happened?
Well, when the trout were released, it was more or less a buffet line. You know, the cormorants seemed to know exactly what was going on, and then they were right there ready to eat the fish that were dumped. And a buddy of mine apparently had made the offer in the past and still maintains that he'd offer at any time that he'd put up the DNR officers for the evening in his motel. And they declined because they said it would be overtime. Now, I'm not sure how much money is involved in stocking fish, but to put out 2 or 3 vehicles with 2 men each and fake deer decoys to detain poachers or catch poachers in the act, it just seems to me that if that's justified, so would be putting fish in at night. Just to give him even a squeak of a chance. It's hard enough for a fish to take once he's been planted anyway.
Boy, this points out a problem that the DNR is having. Now, the fish biologists know that planting the fish during the day is not the time to do it. It should be done at night. But when you have a problem with overtime and budgets, where does that decision come from? Well, the higher levels of the DNR. And I think sportsmen are very reasonable in saying that is not sound scientific management. That's not a sound scientific way to spend the money or to plant the fish. It's not good for the fish. That's an issue that we will be talking about, I'm sure, for the next year or so until we can get the DNR to focus on sound scientific management. There's also a problem with the cormorants. You know, you could say if we didn't have the cormorants up there in the Hustle area, we wouldn't have the problem. Well, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, you might not realize the extent of the cormorant problem. Well, I talked to Rob Berger a little more about how he feels the cormorants affect the perch population. He said, I'll send you some videotape. And when he did that, this is what he told me about the situation.
I live on a closed bay. It's closed to fishing for the perch spawn. Only one of 3 bays in Mackinac County that's closed to perch fishing until May 15th. And I can watch the cormorants come in here more or less like farm equipment, push all the fish up into the shallows in the southeast corner of my bay, and it's merciless. It's less than a foot deep, and the ones in the back of the group come to the front, and it's just a rotation. It's like a big combine just eating up perch. And it really irks me because I can't even throw a line in. Yet I can watch close to 5,000 birds come through my bay, blacken it, and decimate it.
Decimate it is the way people like Rob, in fact, a lot of people who have seen cormorants in action, that's how they describe what they do to fish populations, especially at this time of year, especially in shallow water. And I know a few years ago it was maybe debatable whether cormorants affected the fish population. I'm going to show you a little piece of video here. Now, I honestly do not know who this came from. I've had people sending me things on cormorants and some cormorant video. This came from the northern part of the state. Look at that. That is a cormorant laid out there, and that was what was in its stomach, 10 perch. Whoever sent me this tape also said that there had been 20 smelt in the gullet of another cormorant. Another one they opened up had 10 smelt, 5 perch, and a 6-inch muskie. And one cormorant, I guess it couldn't make it off the water, had a 15.5-inch pike and a 7-inch perch in its gullet. Now, I do not know who sent me that tape. I mean, maybe it was videotaped in some other country or something. I don't know, but I have reason to believe that that came from northern Michigan. It shows the extent of the problem with cormorants. Now, I got out my waterbird guide because cormorants aren't something that we're really that familiar with in this Great Lakes state. But let me go to some footage that somebody else sent in and explain to you about the life and times of the cormorant in Michigan. These are double-crested cormorants flying over the waters of northern Lake Huron around the Lake Chenault Islands. Now, from a distance, they're just big black birds that fly over the beaches and the bays. But in recent years, the numbers of cormorants has skyrocketed to population numbers that nobody ever dreamed would be possible. Now, this population boom has occurred all over the country, but particularly in the northern areas, and particularly in the northern Great Lakes. Now, these birds just don't fly over the water. They live here and raise their young here in large nesting colonies. Now, there are so many cormorants in many of these colonies that they've been known to drive out other native species. Now, a large amount of cormorant poop, to put it bluntly, that leaches into the water, that adds tons of nutrients, which, well, as we know, in many areas, nutrients like that cause harmful pollution. But the biggest characteristic of cormorants is that they are fish-eating machines. Now, these are the birds that you may have seen pictures of in National Geographic or maybe in a film at school, where the Chinese fishermen put rings around their necks and use cormorants to catch fish under lights at night. Now, cormorants have large mouths and big bellies. They can consume huge amounts of fish day after day. In a news release, the state of New York said, in the eastern basin of Lake Ontario, cormorants have been found to be a significant predator of smallmouth bass, which is a native, economically important species. Now, in an old edition of the Audubon Waterbird Guide, it says, perch, bullheads, carp, crappies, stickleback, and similar fish of small value make up a large proportion of their freshwater food. Well, unfortunately, in Michigan, perch are hardly a fish of small value. They're a very important commercial and sport fish. And in the spring, when perch are in the shallows, cormorants eat them voraciously, especially up around the Lake Chenault Islands, where perch fishing used to be the big thing. The low water in the Great Lakes now makes it even easier for flocks of cormorants to target and gobble up fish. But if cormorants have to dive for fish, that's no problem. They swim with their feet and their wings. They usually feed from 5 feet to 25 feet down. Now, cormorants have been protected by the Migratory Bird Treaty Act of 1972, which has been a part of the reason the population has been increasing by almost 30% a year. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is considering various options, including removing cormorants from the protection of the Migratory Bird Treaty Act, opening a hunting season on them, and using other techniques to control and reduce the cormorant population. Right now, that population is growing and becoming a big problem. More cormorants and less fish is not what most people want. A few months ago, I lamented the fact that the big three outdoor magazines, Outdoor Life, Field and Stream, Sports Afield, had seemed to have shrunk down to two, only Outdoor Life and Field and Stream. Sports Afield took a left turn. Look at that. It went to the extreme sports, kayaking and all that type of stuff. It appeared to give up its roots. Well, I was looking at the newsstand the other day, and I saw Sports Afield. Check it out. A bass on the cover? Whoa, what's going on here? I flipped open on the inside, and there was a letter to the editor where the guy was really beefing about the format of Sports Afield. He said, I envision Sports Afield sharing offices with Greenpeace, PETA, the Sierra Club, and the ACLU. Stop shipment of my subscription to my residents and forward the remainder of the magazines to Meryl Streep and Jane Fonda. I mean, this guy was steamed because of the switch to extreme sports. Well, this issue, I read the answer to his letter, and this is what the editor said. We know what you're talking about. That's one of the primary reasons we bought the magazine. Well, there you go. Sports Afield is back as a hunting and fishing magazine by Sports and Field, Inc. This was the Hearst Corporation that printed this, but now they have a new owner. So that's an interesting twist in the outdoors. This little tyke is the star of our trophy tale. You loving this fish, Cameron?
Yep.
I mean, it looks here in the picture like you're literally hugging it, hanging on to it. What kind of fish is this?
A shad.
And where did you catch it?
I forgot.
It was the Huron River. You were fishing in April. Were you fishing for shad, do you know? Or who were you fishing with?
My dad and his friend.
Okay, and were you casting or what?
Casting.
Did you cast all by yourself and catch this?
Yeah.
You did. Cast out, reel in, cast out, reel in, and this one hit. Any idea how long it took you to bring it in?
10.
10 hours?
No.
Minutes. 10 minutes. Wow, is that the biggest fish you ever caught?
Yep.
How old are you?
6.
So, were you 5 when you caught this?
6.
Okay, so you're almost going to be 7 pretty soon.
In May.
In May? Okay. You're going to be 7 in May. You're 6 now, but you caught this in April. I think you were 5 then.
I think.
You think so?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you were 5 then. But you're looking good. You're a good looking. When did you lose those front teeth?
This one was in, both of them were in March.
In March? Okay. And how much did you get for them?
One's for 10 and one's for, $5.
Dollars? Whoa! Ooh, the tooth fairies. Well, maybe I'll be starting losing my teeth pretty soon at my age and can cash in. Well, that's awesome. Well, that's a great picture. Was that a fun day for you? Mm-hmm. That looks like it. Well, Cameron Goldie, here, take that picture there. I want to shake your hand, too. Put it there, my man. Congratulations. The largest gizzard shad, 17 inches. Let me go. Well, that wraps up another edition of The Practical Sportsman. And with the weather the way it's been, you got to get outdoors this weekend. It's a great place to be. See you next week. And how much did you get for them?
One's for 10 and one's for, $5.
Dollars? Whoa! Ooh, the tooth fairies. Well, Maybe I'll be starting losing my teeth pretty soon at my age and can cash in. Well, that's awesome. Well, that's a great picture. Was that a fun day for you? Mm-hmm. That looks like it. Well, Cameron, Goldie, here, take that picture there. I want to shake your hand, too. Put it there, my man. Congratulations. The largest gizzard shad, 17 inches. Way to go.